Hello and welcome back once again to the Wrestling Rant. It is now time for the Elimination Chamber pay-per-view review, recap, whatever the fuck you want to call it. I sound depressed, right? Yeah, well. And I'm sorry this is going up a little late. I had to take an hour after the pay-per-view ended to calm down and watch the replay of The Walking Dead. Because I obviously had to miss the first show of it during the pay-per-view. Anyways, yes, the Elimination Chamber pay-per-view from February 23rd, 2014, from Minneapolis, Minnesota. We start with the kickoff show, of course. The kickoff panel is Josh Matthews hosting, of course, Mark Henry, The Miz, and Rey Mysterio. After the panel, we cut over to Renee Young, who is in the social media lounge, as she usually is for the pay-per-view. And then after that, we get a recap from Raw this past Monday, and the big brawl between The Shield, the Wyatts, everybody in the Elimination Chamber match, yada yada. We cut backstage to one of the locker rooms where Zeb Coulter is talking with Cesaro and Jack Swagger. Whatever. Cutting back into the arena, JBL's music plays, and he comes out to go sit on commentary. And then we get another recap, this time from Raw 2 weeks ago. Batista beating up Del Rio after Del Rio beat Ziggler in a match and then kept attacking him. Batista came out, beat up Del Rio, and then put Del Rio through the announce table. After that recap, Jerry Lawler's music plays, and he comes out to go sit on commentary as well. The commentators then segue into the network video that they played before with the Bellas dressed as flight attendants and that whole thing. They play that again. And after that finishes, there's a CM Punk chant. The Cody Rhodes Goldust Megamix hits, and the two of them come out. It's time for the kickoff match, of course. And then Ryback's music hit, and him and Curtis Axel come out, accompanied by Larry the Axe Hennig. Didn't even know he was still alive, but I didn't really know all that much about him, so, you know. Yeah, but he comes out, of course, since he is Curtis Axel's grandfather. It's not like it really matters. He doesn't get involved in the match or anything. He's just there. You know, this kind of thing seems more like a face thing, and Axel's a heel right now, so it made zero sense. The only reason it made any sense is because he's from Minneapolis. Him, Kurt Hennig, Larry the Axe, I'm guessing, are all from Minneapolis. And so, I guess he was nearby. They're like, hey, Dad, hey, Grandpa, how about you come to the show and watch me get beat up? Yeah, so anyways, the match starts, and immediately there's a... Okay, well, there was some action going on, whatever. When Ryback got into the match, the crowd started chanting boring, because Ryback's a boring sumbitch, you know. And then there was a spot where Cody Rhodes and Goldust did a tandem dives to the outside of the ring. Let's see, Goldust was on the apron, and he did kind of a flipping senton where he dove on top of Ryback. And at the same time, Cody did his kind of jumping on the ropes springboard crossbody down on Axel. There was another commercial break during the pre-show, and yeah, I still feel the need to note those. Anyways, there was a bit of a clusterfuck towards the end of the match, but no matter what, well, let's see. What happened was, after countering around and around, Axel and Rhodes were the two legal guys. Axel went for his little neck breaker flipping into a face buster thing, but Cody got out of it, went right into the crossroads. He hits the crossroads on Axel, and he gets the win. And Larry the Axe gets to watch as his grandson just shows how mediocre he really is. Anyways, so Cody Rhodes and Goldust win the match. It was a decent enough match. Nothing spectacular, but whatever. We cut back to the locker room with Byron Saxton, and he interviews the Usos, who are getting ready for their tag team title match with the Middle-Aged Outlaws. They cut a crappy promo, and then whatever, and then we cut to Renee over in the social media lounge again. Who cares? We go back to the panel, and they give their predictions for the Elimination Chamber match, yada yada yada. And then finally the pay-per-view starts. They have an intro video, of course, and then we get Pyro on the stage. And then the Real Americans theme hits, and Jack Swagger comes out with Zeb Coulter. And on the way to the ring, Coulter talks, cuts another boring, lousy promo. This shtick is really getting old. But anyways, after he finishes his lousy promo, Big E comes out, and while he is coming out, they get a shot of the Spanish announce table, as is always there with the pay-per-views, and Ricardo Rodriguez is on the Spanish announce team. I'm guessing that's basically his permanent job. He's not a manager anymore. He's just going to be Spanish announcer for pay-per-views, because they're never there for the show, or for Raw and SmackDown, that is. Whatever. We get the Intercontinental title match, Swagger and Big E. Right after the match starts, there's a "We Want Ziggler" chant. And they were fighting around. They go to the outside, where Swagger ends up leaned up against the ring steps. And Big E comes charging and kind of shoulder tackles him like you normally would in the corner. You kind of shoulder tackle him. But he does it up against the steps, so it kind of looked like a spear, but whatever. There was a "We the People" chant. Swagger was bleeding from the mouth. And let's see, Swagger was on the apron, the side over by the entryway. And Big E came charging from the ring, goes through the ropes, and we've seen this before. He spears Swagger through the ropes, off the apron, to the floor. So that looked pretty cool. Big E went up to the top rope uncharacteristically, and of course this only led to a counter by Swagger. Swagger grabbed him and did a top rope belly-to-belly suplex, or at least I think it was Swagger did it to Big E, I'm not sure. Shortly after that, Swagger was able to lock in the Patriot Lock, but Big E fought it off. Swagger locked in the Patriot Lock again, but Big E was able to get up on one foot and turn around and enziguri Swagger in the side of the head and break out of it. There was some other stuff that happened, but Big E wound up getting Swagger up on his shoulder. He hit the big ending, and Big E gets the win. So Big E successfully defends his Intercontinental title, just as I predicted. And I did predict the Rhodes winning in the pre-show match, but whatever. After the match, Wade Barrett's music hits. And he rises up on his stupid... He's got a new podium, which is more metal and less flimsy looking. So I guess my hope of somebody coming up and kicking the legs out from under it and watching Barrett plummet to his death, that's not going to happen. But yeah, so he gets raised up on his new little podium. And by the way, this happens a bunch of times during the show. So, yeah. But yeah, he comes up and he starts talking about the Russians getting more gold medals in the Olympics than the Americans. Who gives a fuck? Does anybody watch the Olympics anymore? Anyways, after he decides to go away, although not permanently, no. After that, the commentators make mention of the fact, and I probably should have mentioned this a few days ago because I did hear about it a few days ago, but Hulk Hogan has signed with the WWE and he will be returning tomorrow night on Raw. Do you hear? Can you hear the nobody gives a fuck in the room? Nobody gives a fuck, Hogan. We all know he's not going to wrestle anymore. He's supposed to host WrestleMania 30. So, oh goody, we get another useless host of WrestleMania. Fuck's sake. Hogan's not wrestling anymore, folks, and he doesn't even need to be returning. What's he gonna do to bring anything to the WWE? All he did was shit all over the place in TNA. What's he gonna do in the WWE? But whatever. After that, they show a recap from Raw this past week. Daniel Bryan going against Christian. And then he had to go against Kane. Yada yada. And then we also get a recap from SmackDown of Kane attacking Bryan again. I think Bryan had a match with Cesaro? I don't know. But whatever. Cutting backstage to Byron Saxton again. He's in the interview area with Daniel Bryan. And Bryan starts, cutting a promo. He's talking about, his chances in the Elimination Chamber and whatever. But there's a big yes, yes, yes thing, of course, and yeah. Back in the arena, the New Age Outlaws music hits, and the two of those old fucks come out. And they run through their shtick. Then the Usos come out. And we get the tag team title match. There was a spot where I believe Road Dogg hip tossed one of the Usos into the corner. It looked kind of nasty. There was a CM Punk chant. And then the Usos, one of them, I can't remember which one, hit the Dragon Whip on Road Dogg. If you don't know what the Dragon Whip is, it's something that Shelton Benjamin started doing first, or at least he's the first person I know of who did it. It's basically like, you go to kick them and they catch your foot, they swing you around, but you come back and just spinning heel kick them in the face, basically. So yeah, that's what the one Uso did to Road Dogg. Oh, okay, I see here. One of the Usos, I'm gonna guess, did a dive to the outside. Or maybe it was both of them. But what ended up happening was, one of the Usos was in there with Road Dogg, I think. And Billy Gunn jumps up on the apron, only to get super kicked in the face by the one Uso. But Road Dogg comes from behind, rolls him up for the 1-2-3. So the Outlaws somehow retain. So, was wrong about this one in the prediction. The match was decent. But again, Wade Barrett's music hits. And so there he is on his podium. He started having troubles with his podium because I think this was the time it came back down and he said, I'm going to come down to your level. Fucking pompous asshole. But apparently what ends up happening with the podium is it gets broken. It won't go up and down anymore. But anyways, this time Barrett's talking and he says that Daniel Bryan won't win the Elimination Chamber. And the spoiler strikes again. You motherfucker. Yeah, spoiler alert, by the way. But yeah. We get another stupid video about the network, or it's maybe just more of people talking about, probably just the commentators talking about it. And after that, there was another CM Punk chant. And then I think it's the old Primetime Players music, and Darren Young comes out. And we get a recap from last month on SmackDown is when the Primetime Players broke up. Titus attacked Young, beat the shit out of him after losing the match, whatever. Then Titus's new music hits and he comes out. And then we get this match that no one gives a fuck about. There was a chant towards the beginning of the match. I'm not sure which it was, but it was either "We want Taker," as in The Undertaker, or "We want wrestlers." Can't really tell which one it was. There was also a "We want divas" chant. Darren Young hit a neck breaker on the apron on Titus. But Titus was able to hit his sky-high spine buster, and he got the win. So Titus won, just like I predicted. The match was boring. Nobody gave a fuck. The crowd was dead after Titus won. And then, Wade Barrett's music hits again, and he starts talking about Hulk Hogan coming back, and who gives a shit. Cutting back up to the panel, the pre-show panel. They have a recap of the kickoff match, whatever the fuck, and then we get another recap, this time of the Shield and Wyatt's feud. Starting back, I think it was about a month ago when the Wyatts cost the Shield entry into the Elimination Chamber match by getting them disqualified in the match with, what was it, Cena, Bryan, and Sheamus, I think. But starting from there and recapping everything up till now, whatever. The Shield music hits and the three of them come out. And then the Wyatts come out. And before the match even starts, the crowd starts chanting, "This is awesome." And then they start going back and forth. Let's go Wyatts, let's go Shield. Dueling back and forth. And still before the match starts, we get a big brawl between the two factions. Ambrose bolted at Bray, and they started all brawling and everything, and yada yada. The Shield ends up clearing the ring of the Wyatts. And then the match finally starts. And it turned out to be a good match. There was a lot of good action in this match. A lot of back and forth stuff. Let's see. I think it was Ambrose and Rollins did a poetry in motion sort of spot on Harper. They had Harper in one of the corners, And I think Ambrose got down on all fours, and Rollins springed off of him and just kind of splashed Harper in the corner, or whatever the fuck. Let's see. Harper actually drop-kicked Ambrose. More with the dueling chants. Okay, Rollins was up in the corner, and I think Harper went for a top rope German suplex, but Rollins backflipped all the way through, landed on his feet, yeah, even off of the top rope. That was cool. Rollins went to hit the blackout, the curb stomp, but I think it was Harper who just kind of got out of the way. Rollins kept running, hit the ropes, he comes back, and Harper catches him and hits him with a black hole slam. Another "This is awesome" chant, more dueling chants, and then they started chanting "We want tables." Bray hit a standing rock bottom on Rollins. Reigns got a hot tag and came in like a house of fire. He was cleaning house. What all happened? I remember Reigns got thrown out of the ring, but landed on his feet, ran around the corner, jumped up to the apron, did that jumping drop kick to the apron, drop kicking Rowan in the face. Let's see. I'm not sure who it was, but Bray and I think it was Ambrose were on the outside of the ring. Harper comes running from inside the ring and does a suicide dive, wipes out Ambrose. And then Rollins comes running and does a rope flip senton over the top rope, lands on top of Harper and wipes him out. Rollins goes over and clears off the Spanish announce table. And then Bray came over and cracked Rollins, but Dean came over and grabbed Bray and they started fighting, and they went spilling over the barricade into the crowd in the one corner of the thing. After that, the Wyatts came back, cleared off the normal announce table. I think it was Rowan did a fallaway slam on Reigns, and Reigns flew all the way out of the ring. And what ends up happening is, let's see, Harper and Rowan get up on top of the normal announce table with Rollins. And they get him up, and they double choke slam him up and put him through the Spanish announce table from off of the normal announce table. So they choke slam the fuck out of him. Rollins is wiped out. Ambrose, I think, was beat up still in the crowd. And so all three of the Wyatts are now together with Reigns in the ring. So they gang up on Reigns. And Bray's in there with Reigns. And Bray goes for the Sister Abigail. But Reigns grabs onto his arm and he's prying him off. He's actually breaking out of the Sister Abigail. And then he lifts Bray up and Samoan drops him. And Reigns is able to Superman punch two of the Wyatts. I can't remember who. And he even... Bray's down in one corner. Reigns is over in the other corner getting ready to go for the spear. Harper jumps in the ring, and Reigns comes charging, plows through Harper with the spear. So Harper takes the bullet for Bray. Bray runs over, hits Reigns with the Sister Abigail, and Bray covers Reigns for the win. 1, 2, 3. The Wyatts win. And the crowd's dead. Like I said, it was a good match. Shit finish. Was wrong about this when I predicted the Shield, although I did say I kind of figured I was being foolish in that. Yeah. So, cutting backstage, we see Christian walking through one of the hallways, and then Renee Young comes up, and she gets his thoughts whatever the fuck. Cutting back to the arena, AJ's music hits. And we get an unscheduled match. AJ comes out with Tamina. And AJ talks about being the longest reigning Divas champion ever, and yada yada. And then the Funkadactyl's music hits and cuts her off, and out comes Cameron. So, shit match inbound. So we get AJ versus Cameron, Divas title match. Yes, this is for the Divas title. Obviously, it was a shit match. Right towards the beginning of the match, there was another CM Punk chant. And what happens is AJ and Cameron spill to the outside, and Cameron had a hold of AJ. Tamina charged in and went for a super kick, but I guess Cameron got out of the way, and Tamina ended up nailing AJ in the face with this super kick. And I guess the referee wasn't watching. But Cameron rolls AJ into the ring and goes for a pin, but Tamina kind of shoves and whatever and breaks up the pin. So Cameron doesn't win. Of course, pissed off by this, Cameron goes out of the ring and goes after Tamina, and of course Tamina beats the shit out of her, because Cameron's a piece of crap and Tamina's gonna break your face. So of course, the referee sees this, Cameron getting clobbered by Tamina, and the ref calls for the bell, DQ. So, Cameron wins, but by disqualification, and so still your Divas champion, AJ. Thank God. And once again, Wade Barrett's music hits. And his podium still isn't working, or the lifty thing isn't working, so he can't get lifted up and be above everybody. You're not above anybody else anyways, Barrett, you piece of shit. But he starts talking about how when the WWE Network goes live, people will be so enthralled by it, all the content, that they won't have time to clean up their houses, and there's going to be garbage all over the place, and rats are going to move in, and then the houses are going to be condemned. Shut the fuck up, you boring, limey prick. Don't oversell the fucking network like that, okay? It's not going to be that big a deal. Moving on, we cut backstage, and there's Santino Marella playing with the stupid stack-down toys. And then up comes Emma. And Santino's like, no, I wasn't playing with the toys, no. And then up comes the great Khali, speaking in gibberish, because that's about all he can speak. And then, hey, look, there's El Torito. And then the Matadors pop up. And they're all like, oh, hey, thanks for inviting us, Santino. And he's like, what? I didn't invite anybody. And he's like trying to act all tough for Emma because... But Santino's like, hey, what's that to Emma? And she looks away, and Santino just kind of runs away. And then the others are left there, and they're all playing with the toys. And I'm like, what the fuck is the point of this? If you want to plug your stupid toys, you can just do a regular commercial. Having your superstars doing this shit is just dumb. Cutting back to the arena, Batista's music hits. And he comes out to a huge amount of boos. And they show again the recap that we got earlier of Del Rio getting put through the table from like 2 weeks ago or whatever the fuck. And then Del Rio's music hits. And he comes out to no reaction. And he comes out wearing a tracksuit. His neck is in a brace, and he's limping on a crutch. So it's looking like he can't compete. And, yeah. He gets in the ring. He gets a microphone. He starts talking. He's like, yeah, I'm still hurt. I can't compete. Whatever the fuck. Batista's like, what the fuck? He turns his back like a dumbass. And Del Rio starts beating the shit out of Batista with the crutch. Obviously, Del Rio's fine. He's beating the shit out of Batista with this crutch, whacking him across the back, jabbing at him. He whips off his pantsuit. He's got his wrestling gear underneath. He's got like the athletic pull-away pants and the zip-up shirt, whatever. He whips that off real quick. He's got his gear on underneath. And the crowd started chanting, "See, see, see." They were solidly against Batista. They didn't really care about Del Rio. They just wanted to see Batista get his ass kicked. Finally, the match starts. And Batista immediately no-sells, getting the shit kicked out of him with a crutch. And then there was another chant from the crowd. "Batista! Batista!" This crowd tonight was pretty damn good. Really liked it. Del Rio locked in the cross-arm breaker through the ropes. It was upside down, too, which I thought was kind of funny. There was another CM Punk chant, and then a chant for Y2J, and then a boring chant, and then an RVD chant. Del Rio hit an enziguri in the corner, and then there was a "We Want Ziggler" chant. And then Batista speared Del Rio and started making a comeback, but then Del Rio hit the backcracker. And Del Rio went for a senton off the top rope, but missed. Batista got out of the way. He gets Del Rio up, hits his spine buster, and he goes for the Batista bomb, but Del Rio slipped out of it somehow, and he hit the concussion kick on Batista, but he only got a 2 count. Del Rio went for the arm breaker again, but Del Rio went for the arm kick. Del Rio went for the arm breaker again, but Batista just kind of pushed him off. And apparently one of the turnbuckles was exposed. I think Del Rio probably would have yanked the turnbuckle pad off. I don't know what the fuck happened. But yeah, as Batista slipped out of the arm breaker, he shoves Del Rio, and Del Rio goes head first into the exposed turnbuckle. So he comes back, Batista kicks him, doubles him over, picks him up, Batista bomb, hits the Batista bomb. He gets the win. Batista wins. At first there was boos, and then the crowd just went dead. Anyways, the match sucked. Nobody cares about this feud. Nobody wants to see Batista. And everybody don't give a shit about Del Rio, and he's leaving soon anyways. So who the fuck cares? Cutting back to the panel, they go over their predictions again for who's going to win the Chamber, which is up next. Then we see that the Chamber is lowering from, up in the rafters, and we see the Chamber video. I believe it was the same one that they played on Raw a while back, whatever. Finally getting to the match. Cena comes out first and gets booed pretty hard. And he goes into one of the pods. Yeah, the first 4 guys come out and go into pods, and it's the last 2 guys who start the match. After Cena, we get Christian, who comes out to no reaction, and he goes into one of the pods. And then Randy Orton comes out to no reaction, and he goes into one of the pods. And then Daniel Bryan comes out to a big pop, and yes chance, of course, and he goes into the final pod. The Real Americans music hits, and Cesaro comes out with Zeb, and he comes out and gets in the ring. And then Sheamus' music hits, and he comes out and he gets in the ring, and so Cesaro and Sheamus start the match. So yes, now it is time for the Elimination Chamber WWE World Heavyweight Championship match. Like I said, Cesaro and Sheamus start off, and they just start brawling with each other. They're beating the shit out of each other. Lots of European uppercuts. Oh my god. There was a "We the People" chant. They spilled out to the outside on the steel of the Elimination Chamber, and Cesaro came down from the second rope, from the corner. Obviously, he came down from the second rope with a big double stomp onto Sheamus's chest. Ugh. And then the crowd started chanting, "Cesaro! Cesaro!" Finally, we get around to our third entrant into the chamber, which is Daniel Bryan, and he comes out and stupidly starts attacking both Sheamus and Cesaro. And I'm thinking, if you were smart, you'd either hang back, or you just attack one guy and try to kind of make friends with the other guy, you know? Like, don't attack both guys, you're just gonna draw their aggro and, you know... It's dumb. It's like being one of three guys in the Royal Rumble. You don't want to attack both of them. You'll just piss them both off, and then they'll both want to kick the shit out of you. But that's what Bryan does. He comes down from the top rope with a double front missile drop kick and hits both of them. And then he starts going back and forth from one to the other, doing dueling chest kicks. He kicks one guy and then goes over, kicks the other guy, back and forth and back and forth. And he hits the big roundhouse on Cesaro. And then we got a cool spot. Bryan got, I think it was Cesaro down, or maybe it was Sheamus, I don't know. But he gets the guy down, and he puts him in, like, the Indian Deathlock, gets his legs wrapped around his own leg, and then the other guy comes running, he hits the ropes to go after Bryan. Bryan catches him Northern Lights style, Northern Lights suplexes him, at the same time locking in the Indian Deathlock on the other guy. So he was doing both moves at the same time, and he bridged with the Northern Lights, so he was trying to pin whoever it was he got that on. He only got a 2. After that, Bryan went up to the top rope and went to do like a crossbody on Cesaro, but Cesaro caught him, tilt-a-whirl into a backbreaker. And then on the outside of the ring, Bryan gets put through his own pod. I don't know who did it. I think it was Sheamus. But somebody... I think what it was is Bryan went to Irish Whip whoever it was into the pod, but the guy reversed it and sent Bryan crashing through it. And then Sheamus grabbed Cesaro up and get him on his shoulders and did the senton roll on the cage floor. So on the steel. So that had to fucking hurt. Finally, time for entrant number 4, and it's Christian. And he comes in and immediately goes after Bryan. And he's working Bryan's shoulder, which is still hurt. It's been taped up. He even goes so far as to put Bryan's arm in one of the pod doors and slam the door on his arm. So, ow. And Christian even does a tornado arm breaker on Bryan to... Still trying to break up Bryan's arm. I think Sheamus went to... He had Christian up on his shoulder and was gonna lawn dart kind of chuck him into one of the pods, but Christian slips down into his inverted, reverse DDT, and he hits that on the cage floor. So again, ow! And then Christian basically got powerbombed back first up against one of the pods. And then he got uppercutted, so Cesaro was doing this, so the powerbomb, Christian bounces back, and then he gets uppercutted by Cesaro, and Christian goes flipping all the way over the ropes into the ring. And then, let's see, Cesaro had Sheamus up against one of the pods, and he grabs the shitty plexiglass thing, and he puts that up against Sheamus, and then he does his running European uppercut up against it. So, jeez. He also did his deadlift, the gut wrench on the cage floor. And finally, it's time for entrant number 5, which is John Cena. And he immediately comes in, and he gets Sheamus up in the Attitude... No, it was Christian. Yeah, I think it was Christian. He gets Christian up in the Attitude Adjustment, and they're on the cage floor. Cesaro's in the ring, and so Christian is kind of holding onto the ropes. He doesn't want to get slammed. John just kind of flips him over the ropes, and Christian falls on top of Cesaro, and they fall on the mat. So it was like an Attitude Adjustment on top of Cesaro, whatever. Cena wound up getting the Super Frankensteiner from Bryan, and then repeating kicks. And Bryan was going to go for the roundhouse on Cena, but he got grabbed by Christian, who hit him with the kill switch. Cena hits the Protoplex on Christian, I think. And then Sheamus comes out of nowhere and gets Cena up and hits the white noise on him. Christian hit a Tornado DDT on Cesaro. I'm trying to think of what happened here. I think Cena went for the Attitude Adjustment on Cesaro, but Cesaro got out of it, shoved Cena into the ropes, and as he came back, lifted him up, hits the Swiss Death frickin' uppercut on him, and knocks the shit out of Cena. He still only got a 2. After that, there's just an all-out brawl between all 5 of these guys. They're whacking each other, they're throwing each other up against the cage wall, just beating the shit out of each other. Cesaro redid his spot with Cena, only this time was with Sheamus. Did the deadlift suplex from the second rope from the apron with the suplex to the inside of the ring, but he did it on Sheamus. Finally, entrant number 6, coming in last, our current champion, Randy Orton, who comes out, and immediately there's a boring chant. Randy starts doing his shit, he's beating people up, he takes time to do his pose, and then he goes to do the punt on Bryan, but Bryan dodges it, and Randy's stuck in the corner. There's Bryan, and there's Cena, and there's Sheamus, and Cesaro's on the outside, but Randy's cornered. And so he's like, oh shit, what do I do, what do I do? He bails out of the ring real quick and goes back into his pod and pulls the door shut. Like a chicken shit. And the crowd started chanting something. I think it was bullshit. They started chanting bullshit. Some of the rest of the guys go back to fighting each other, but Sheamus is staring at Randy. Sheamus is standing on the cage floor on one of the sides of the pod. He's staring at Randy, and he's like, motherfucker, I'm gonna get you. Sheamus turns around, and then he turns back, and I'm just like, well, just fucking smash the cage wall in. It's not that hard. Or not the cage wall, the pod wall. And that's what he does. Sheamus jumps back, does a brogue kick, and kicks in the side of the pod. Breaks that shit in, grabs Randy and pulls him out and starts beating the shit out of him. Cena does the Protoplex and the 5-knuckle shuffle on somebody. Probably Orton, I don't remember. But before he could do the Attitude Adjustment, I think Cesaro came in and clobbered him. And then Cesaro grabs Orton and does the big swing. And he's swinging him around and around and around for 28 revolutions. Yeah, the crowd fucking counted. They were 28 revolutions. This was some mother shit, you know. Okay. After that, Sheamus was rearing back, getting ready to go for the brogue kick on Christian. But Cena was standing behind him. And so I'm thinking, okay, I see where this is going. Yeah. Sheamus goes for the brogue kick. Christian ducks or dives out of the way, and Sheamus ends up nailing Cena with the brogue kick. But, like an idiot, Christian decides to schoolboy roll up Sheamus. Yeah, don't cover the guy who just got hit with a finisher. No, roll up the guy who gave him the finisher, Of course, he only gets a 2. And then Christian goes for a cover on Cena. And of course, only gets a 2. Stupid motherfucker. Okay. Christian wound up running from Sheamus, who was obviously pissed off after all that. Christian jumps out of the ring, and he ends up climbing up on top of one of the pods to try and get away from Sheamus. Sheamus tries to climb up the turnbuckle to go after him, but then comes... I don't know if it was Cena or if it was Cesaro or maybe it was Orton, I don't remember, but somebody ended up superplexing. It was Orton, now that I think about it. Orton superplexes Sheamus from the top rope, and so Sheamus is down. Christian's still up on top of the pod. He comes diving off of the pod with a frog splash, basically, on Sheamus. And it looked like RVD's 5-star because he hits it and he's like, motherfuck my gut, you know. He's rolling around in pain for a second, but he finally makes the cover on Sheamus, and he gets the pin. So Sheamus is eliminated by Christian. But then Daniel Bryan comes out of nowhere and hits the super running knee on Christian. And he covers Christian. 1, 2, 3. Christian's eliminated by Daniel Bryan. We're down to just the 4 now. And we get a big brawl. Let's see, it was Bryan with Orton and Cena with Cesaro. They're brawling, you know, on opposite sides of the ring and on the cage. Again, banging each other up against the cage wall and, you know, whatever. Cesaro and Cesaro and Orton are knocked down, and then Bryan and Cena get in the ring. And they're staring down at each other. They start going, you know, at each other. What ends up happening is Cena gets Bryan up on his shoulders for the attitude adjustment. Cesaro comes from behind and grabs Cena around the waist for a German suplex. He German suplexes Cena with Bryan on his shoulders, so it was like a German suplex with kind of like a Samoan drop that Bryan ate. So that was an interesting spot. Anyways, Cena and Cesaro end up on the... well, over towards one of the sides of the ring by the ropes. And Cesaro's on Cena's shoulders, and Cena's trying to go for the attitude adjustment. Cesaro's holding onto the ropes, and I think what basically happens is Cena just flips him over and plants him on the cage floor with the attitude adjustment. So obviously, you know, Cesaro's pretty much fucked. Cena drags him back into the ring, locks in the STF, and Cesaro taps out. And so Cesaro is eliminated by Cena. Anyways, there was some more stuff. I didn't really catch anything else. But what ends up happening is Cena locks in the STF on Orton. And then we get the Wyatt quick cut thing. And the blackout. And then again, and the lights finally come back on, and there's all 3 of the Wyatts in the ring somehow. And immediately, they just kind of chuck Bryan out of the way, and they start beating the shit out of Cena. Harper and Rowan do their tag finish of the clothesline in the corner, and then the big discus thing or whatever that wipes out Cena. The Wyatts start to leave out through the chamber door, and Bray hits the Sister Abigail on Cena. Then they go to leave, and as they're leaving, Orton covers Cena. 1, 2, 3. Cena is eliminated. And the Wyatts are leaving out through the cage door. And then up comes Kane, who starts yelling at the Wyatts. He's like, get out of here, whatever the fuck. Kane gets into the chamber checking on Cena because, you know, they've got like medics or referees or whatever trying to kind of roll Cena the hell out of the way. And they did this with all the people who got eliminated. They're trying to roll him out because he's been eliminated. They need to get him out of there so he can't interfere or whatever. But as Kane is checking on Cena, we can see Bryan going up to the top rope. Kane turns around, Bryan comes flying off of the top rope with a big flying knee, nails Kane and wipes him out. Orton comes up from behind, grabs Bryan and throws him into one of the pods. But Bryan's able to counter and come back. He gets Randy in the Tree of Woe in one of the corners, repeating kicks, yada yada, running drop kicks while he's down in the Tree of Woe. And then he lifts Randy back up on top of the top rope and hits him with a big super back suplex off the top rope. Randy's able to come back. He does his corner hung DDT, not off the top rope. It was only off of the second rope. I think what happened was Randy went for the RKO, but Bryan blocked it, just kind of shoved Randy off. Bryan came running, ducked a clothesline by Randy into the corner, and then Bryan came charging, hits the big super running knee on Orton. He goes for the cover. The referee counts 1, 2, and there's Kane who grabs the referee and pulls him back out of the ring, breaking up the count. Kane is like over by the ropes, like basically kind of standing on the apron if the chamber wasn't there. And Bryan runs over and kicks Kane to knock him down, turns around and eats a RKO from Randy. The referee, he wasn't hurt or anything, he was just kind of pulled out of the way, so he comes back in. Randy gets the cover, 1, 2, and Bryan kicks out. So yes, of course, yes, 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 chant from the crowd. Bryan gets up and goes for a roll-up on Randy, but only gets a 2. And as that breaks, he gets up and roundhouse kicks Randy in the head. But Bryan's in the corner going for the super knee again, but then there's Kane. And I'm thinking, why hasn't somebody come out to escort his ass out of the chamber? Obviously, to facilitate the finish. Because like I said, Bryan's in the corner, getting ready to do the super knee on Randy again. Kane gets up, and he clobbers Bryan. Just kind of punches him. Or he basically does his little throat thrust thing, his little slap thing that Kane does. Hits him. Bryan turns, there's Randy, fucking RKO. Again. Randy covers Bryan, 1, 2, 3. And Randy fucking wins. Retaining the goddamn title. Screwing over Daniel Bryan. Again! The crowd was dead. Again! Randy gets the belts, gets the hell out of the chamber, and starts leaving as Bryan is left in the ring. Son of a bitch! Are you fucking kidding me? So, once again, Daniel Bryan gets screwed out of the title. Obviously, this is leading to a match between Bryan and Kane. And something tells me that bullshit's going to happen at WrestleMania. So for those of you thinking that this is going to be some big payoff for Bryan, he'll finally win the title at WrestleMania, I don't think so, because I'm betting he's going to end up going against either Kane or Triple H at WrestleMania. They're going to give Bryan the match they were going to give Punk, which is the bullshit that made Punk quit. But yeah, that's the end of the fucking show. Randy Orton wins, with Kane helping him, and with the Wyatts helping to eliminate John Cena. So apparently we're going to have the Wyatts and Cena at WrestleMania, or maybe just Bray and Cena. God fucking damn it, WWE. You continue to fuck everything up. And not only that, but this guarantees that we're going to have the boring main event at WrestleMania of Randy Orton against Batista. Fuck right the hell off, you stupid assholes. So, just to get this over with as quickly as possible, because not only did I take that extra hour to watch The Walking Dead, I also did it to calm down because I was fucking pissed after the end of this shit pay-per-view. You know what? The pay-per-view itself wasn't so bad. I'll give them at least that much credit. They had a couple of good matches, a couple of decent matches. The Elimination Chamber match was pretty damn good, actually, aside from the finish. Screw over Bryan again, you assholes. But as I said, to just kind of wrap this up really quick, as we normally do, let's go over the matches again. In the pre-show, we got the Rhodes defeating Ryback. It was a decent match. Nothing special, but it was decent. In the pay-per-view, we got Swagger being defeated by Big E to successfully defend his Intercontinental title. This match was nice. It wasn't decent. It was better than decent, but it wasn't good. So I said it was nice. Then we got the tag team title match. The Outlaws successfully defending against the Usos in another decent match. And again, to go over my predictions, I was correct about the Rhodes beating Ryback. I was correct about Big E defeating Swagger. But I was wrong about the Usos winning the tag titles. Apparently they're saving that for WrestleMania. Which just... We don't want to see the Outlaws anymore. Their shit got old back in the 90s, okay? Whatever. And then we saw Titus O'Neil defeating Darren Young, which I did predict. And then we got the big six-man tag match, the Wyatts defeating the Shield, which I was wrong about, but I kind of knew I was going to be wrong. So I don't know how to count that one. And then, even though this wasn't on the official card, we got the Divas title match, which I did predict was possible. So you can kind of count that as being correct, that they were going to do something with the Divas. I did predict that. It was a shit match. Cameron wins by disqualification, so AJ keeps the title. I did predict that... Or I didn't really predict anything about the title, so... Never mind that. But I did predict that they would do something with the Divas. So, okay. And then we got Batista defeating Del Rio, which I was right about as well. Because obviously, like, they're going to have Batista lose to anybody going into WrestleMania. And then we got the Elimination Chamber match, which I was wrong about. Daniel Bryan did not win. He gets screwed over yet again. And we get Randy boring motherfucker Orton retaining the title to go to WrestleMania against Batista. So, yeah, let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 things I was right about, and 3 things I was wrong about. So, yeah. But that was your Elimination Chamber pay-per-view for 2014. February 23rd, 2014, Minneapolis, Minnesota. And here I was thinking today was actually going to go better than normal. Started the day by watching some episodes of Game of Thrones, which I've just started to watch. Just the first few episodes of the first season. But I'm like, you know what? This show's pretty good. Hopefully the pay-per-view tonight will follow suit. Well, the pay-per-view itself was alright, but like, Jesus, we get two shitty finishes. The Wyatts winning, and then we get Orton winning in the Chamber. Just fuck right the hell off. It would have been fine if you had Bryan win, become the new champion, Randy gets his rematch, uses it at WrestleMania, and then we have a triple threat, Randy, Bryan, and Batista. That would have been fine. But no, we have to screw over Daniel Bryan again. And I really doubt Bryan's going to be doing anything great at WrestleMania. Like I said, he'll either be going against Kane or Triple H. And I honestly don't like either one of those possibilities. At this point, people really should be asking for refunds. Honestly, people, you should start asking for refunds. Stop letting the WWE take your fucking money if they're not going to give you what you want to see. To any people who already have tickets to future pay-per-views, specifically WrestleMania, sell the fucking tickets. Don't go to the damn show. It's not worth it. You're just losing a crapload of money to watch Daniel Bryan get shit on, as well as probably a bunch of other people that you like. The WWE has shit the bed, and it doesn't seem to be getting any better. I'm going to predict right here, right now, that WrestleMania is going to suck again for the 4th year in a row. I said it way back in the first episode of this show that WrestleMania last year sucked. There was a couple of good matches, but for the majority, it sucked. Tell the WWE to fuck off with this boring Randy Orton and Batista shit. Tell them to fuck off with screwing over Bryan. Start asking for your money back. Because the pay-per-views they're putting on are not worth the money that you pay for them. Honestly, not just for pay-per-views, folks, but if you have tickets to go to Raw or SmackDown in the coming weeks, again, I'd sell them. Just don't go to the show. When the attendance at their shows starts dropping, when the money they start making, or the money they are making starts dropping, when the ratings start to fall, just stop watching the show. This is horse shit, people. We need to tell them that we're not going to put up with this crap anymore. Things are not going to change unless they stop making money. Because as long as they're making money, they're going to keep doing the same shit that they're doing. They're going to keep pushing Orton and John Cena and Batista and all these other pieces of shit that nobody likes. Until they start losing money, they're going to keep doing the same old shit. It was no more evident than when the Monday Night War started back at the beginning of the Attitude Era, when WCW started coming up, and they started, they started with the NWO angle, and that started kicking the WWE's ass in the ratings, and so Vince was like, shit, I gotta change up the game, I gotta push some different people, because at the time, he was still pushing Hogan. Or, well, no, that was actually after Hogan left for WCW. But he was still pushing some of the same old people. And he's like, shit, I gotta push some new people. So we gotta change things up. We gotta get something different going to get the people back, to get them interested again. If their ratings start to fall, if the pay-per-view buys start to fall, if the attendance at live shows, Raw and SmackDown and pay-per-views, at house shows, if that shit starts to fall, if they start losing money, things will start to change. It's getting real old at this point, folks. So, yeah. But I think that will conclude this episode of the Wrestling Rant. As I said, once again, the Elimination Chamber, February 23rd. February 23rd, 2014, from Minneapolis, Minnesota. That was the Elimination Chamber pay-per-view. It was an alright pay-per-view, but we got a couple of crappy finishes. We had a couple of matches that nobody gave a shit about. And then we get kicked in the nuts with Orton retaining the title in the Chamber. Just fuck right off. That's it for this episode of the Wrestling Rant. Thank you for joining us. Do join us tomorrow night when we go over Monday Night Raw, featuring the return of Hulk Bloody Hogan, who can fuck right off as well. Old bitch, take your broken hip and just go home. Fuck off, Hogan. You have nothing else to offer to any wrestling promotion anywhere. Nothing. And apparently The Undertaker is also supposed to return tomorrow night on Raw. And I'm not too certain, but I think Brock Lesnar might also make an appearance as well. And they might be trying to set up Brock versus The Undertaker. I'm not sure about that, though. But anyways, like I said, join us tomorrow night for Raw. I can only foresee this shit getting worse. As much as I hate to say that, but it can only get worse. Bryan's going to continue to get crapped on. Orton's still the fucking champion, so unless they have another title match between him and Bryan on Raw, which I doubt. Good God. Yeah, but like I said, join us tomorrow night for Raw. Thank you for watching. I'm gonna go do something more fun, like hit my nuts with a rubber hammer. I don't know. Yeah. We'll see you tomorrow night for Raw. Please join us then. Thank you for watching tonight. Remember to like and favorite, subscribe. Do whatever it is you do. Share if you can. I'd love to see more people watching the show. The show may not last very long, or much longer, so I don't know. As I said before, I'm going to go through the week after WrestleMania and see if things change, but it doesn't look like they're going to. But anyways, wrapping up again, that'll do it for the show. Join us tomorrow. Good night.